Is India's influence in Africa growing? 2 centuries ago, there was a scramble for Africa. Today, there's a new game being played, and one country has been singled out. Over the past 2 decades, China has poured billions of dollars into Africa, building roads and extracting resources to fuel its growing economy. But there's also another Asian giant that's looking to play catch-up.
Africa and India. There's a new partnership forming on the global stage, and it might just be a real challenge to China's dominance.
Modi says his focus is on human development through trade rather than the extraction of resources.
Since 2002, New Delhi has provided $11 billion in developmental assistance to the continent through loans, grants, and other infrastructure initiatives. All that has helped Indian-African trade go from $50 billion in 2010 to almost $67 billion in 2020. Today's India is Africa's 3rd largest trade partner after China and the US. New Delhi also considers African countries, especially those with coasts on the Indian Ocean, a critical part of its Indo-Pacific strategy.
India is investing both in itself and in its neighbors to make sure that Delhi remains the primary power in the Indian Ocean. India is trying to build up some Coast Guard and naval facilities in places like Mauritius and the Seychelles. Even more importantly, it's signing access agreements with other regional powers.
India has also used its own history of being colonized as a shared experience with Africans. And today, some 3 million people of Indian origin live on the continent, a network New Delhi hopes to tap. But what makes its approach different compared to Beijing's? Chinese firms are often accused of employing mostly Chinese workers and offering little training for Africans, whereas India's strategy seeks to facilitate community participation and development by relying more on local African talent than importing its own. The importance of the continent for India was demonstrated by the 10 guiding principles for India-Africa engagement. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi outlined that strategy in 2018 in an address to the Ugandan parliament.
Worth about $11 billion in over 40 African countries.
He said that 18 new Indian embassies will be opened across Africa, and Indian markets will stay open to improve the balance of trade between India and the continent.
Although India has big ambitions, it's also dealing with increasing challenges at home. A second wave of COVID-19 has made it the new epicenter of the world. The country ran out of oxygen, and scenes of cremation grounds burning thousands of bodies caused panic, and poverty still remains a major challenge. According to the Pew Research Center, an additional 75 million people in India fell into poverty last year because of the pandemic, raising the total to 134 million. There are also many reports of corruption, underdeveloped infrastructure, and poor management of public funds. Out of 189 countries, India ranks 131st on the Human Development Index. And there's the troubled history of racial tensions between Africans and those of Indian descent. Indians first arrived in parts of East and South Africa with the British in the late 19th century, where they worked as indentured servants. By the 1970s, the Indian diaspora across the continent had grown to dominate business and trade. Their economic rise triggered a backlash that often turned violent.
Less than 8 weeks are left before the deadline runs out. 8 weeks in which, according to General Amin, 65,000 Asians must leave Uganda. The new threat that if they fail to leave before the deadline, they'll be sent into concentration camps run by the army turns anxiety into fear. Until now, the Asian community, 80,000 out of a population of 10 million, has controlled Uganda's economy. They own nearly all the large shops and businesses.
Despite those challenges, India seems determined to be one of Africa's most important partners. But it might have a long way to go, given the head start and mountains of cash China has at its disposal.